Hello there guys, you're listening to Ebird Online and I'm finally here with the final part of my review on the Season 3's tell-all for Before the 90 Days. And in this part we're going to have a roundup of all of the other couples that we haven't touched on so far, and God willing, with the help of Sean, we'll ensure the couples tell-all. If you haven't managed to do so yet, please click that red button and subscribe to my channel for your consistent dose of sarcasm. Pressing that red button is the only way to ensure that you miss not one barb. Say after me, not one barb. Not one bar. And thank you so much to those who've already subscribed. It's much appreciated, and thank you for all your comment and for all the opposing points of view that you've given me. And guys, some of them have given me food for thought. So we start this review in much the same way that we started every single new segment after a break, and that is of course with TLC wasting 30 seconds of our time showing us the cameraman and the soundman and all of the other production staff. I wonder to myself, what does this add? Absolutely nothing. So why do it? Why waste our time? Speaking of which, back to Sean. So Sean, are we ready? The next interview is going to be Angela and Michael. Are we ready to ask those hard-hitting questions which we know need to be answered? Questions such as, why do you prevent Michael from working? Why do you prevent Michael from going out? Why do you prevent Michael from having his own life? Questions like that. Let's work together, Sean, and get to the bottom of it. So Angela and daughter Skylar walk in and sit down on the sofa, and we already have Michael via Skype waiting to tell all. But as Angela sits down, she says, I love you so much, in a kind of pidgin Nigerian accent. And Sean, well, Sean looks like she wants to punch Angela in the face. The truth be told, Sean, the way that I hear it, TLC don't even think that's a sackable offence. I'd take my chances if I were you. So when Sean finally stops giving Angela cut eye, she gets down to that tough questioning, and she asks Angela, what happened? Oh God, not this again. And so Angela tells it as from her point of view. Well, Avery's really mouthy. She just doesn't know when to shut up. And as for Tim ain't got no business here apparently. And Angela had to tell him to STFU. And so in time-honoured fashion, TLC treat us to 20 minutes of VT of Michael and his fibs. We hear him fib about going to the party, and then we hear him fib about never going on a boat before. And Angela tells Shane, he's lying dead in my damn face. And so Sean asks, Angela, why do you think Michael tells these lies? WTF, please analyse the footage in front of you, Sean. I'm reliably informed by lots of subscribers that you are a well-respected journalist. Use this journalism training that it's been rumoured you possess and analyse what you see in front of you. Before you see a shadow of a former man who's being manipulated by a green card holder. And she defines which statements are lies, which statements are fibs, and what's reasonable. And Sean, you're going along with Angela's definition of reasonable. You shouldn't be. You should be defining your own definition of reasonable, and you should be holding both Angela and Michael to it. But then Angela, after all the fussing and fighting and cussing and yelling, decides Michael's lies really aren't that serious after all. Oh, Angela. If they're not that serious, Angela, why the decibels? But then Angela asks one of the most jacked up questions I think I've heard on this franchise so far. She asks Michael, do you lie to me because I'm white? Is it because I'm not Nigerian? Angela, I think if you ask any Nigerian woman, they will tell you that their husbands lie to them just the same as all husbands lie to all wives. All boyfriends lie to all girlfriends. In fact, all people lie to all people. And then Sean asks Angela if it's fair that Michael has no social life and doesn't go to work. And Angela says, I don't have a social life. No, you don't, Angela. You're 52. People rarely go out raving when they're 52. I stopped going out clubbing when I was about 35. That's unsurprising. And then Angela proves her benevolence to us all when she says, I just want Michael to spend time with his mum, because as soon as he gets to America, he's not going to see her again, because we're not going to be able to fly backwards and forwards to see her. Then we see a little bit of VT about Angela lying to Michael's mum and talking about this baby. And Sean asks Skylar, is there any way that you change your mind and give Angela an egg? And Skylar says again emphatically, no way. And Angela said, if I want it, I'll have it. That sounds to me partially like a threat and partially like the premise of an episode of Wives with Knives. And Sean asks Michael, will you get rid of Angela if she can't have a baby? And Michael ums and ahs for a few seconds and says, the main thing is at the moment we're together and she is my partner at the moment. And that's pretty much the end of Angela's segment. So again, we find out very little, and Angela has obviously been asked by production to leave because she says bye y'all, bye, and she gives everybody kisses and she tells everyone that she'll see them later, and she acts as if she hasn't just been ejected from a nightclub by the fire exit. And so next up we have everybody back onto stage, and the next segment is going to be Benjamin, Akinyi and brother and confidence trickster Fidel. And Sean's very first question was for Fidel, and Sean asked about Benjamin's negotiation skills with the bride price. Fidel said he was average, very average. Which to me begged the question, what do you mean he was average? How many times have you tried to get Akinyi married off before? I think quite a few. And I also think it's highly likely that she was offered 30 or even 20 balls previously. And Akinyi doubled up on this by saying, Benjamin's not an alpha male. Like my dad and my brother, they have an aura about them, an aura of an alpha male. Really? They have an aura of an alpha male, but they're not actually alpha males now, are they? How can an alpha male be somebody trying to wrongfoot someone from another country and from another culture? And why would alpha males not negotiate properly, but to leave a negotiation open-ended so that they can further scam the person they're negotiating with for the rest of their life? Is that the move of an alpha male? I don't think so. And Benjamin tells Sean that he wasn't going to be demanding in somebody else's home. And quite interestingly at this point, Rebecca jumps in. When my ex was in Morocco, he was an alpha male. He knew everything and he was very confident. Once he moved to the USA, he was a completely changed person. He didn't know what to do at the grocery store. He didn't know how to post a letter. He didn't even know how to drive a car. And I think Rebecca makes a good point, i.e. if you're out of your comfort zone, you're going to be less bolshy and less alpha male-like. However, I seem to remember that Rebecca's ex managed to drive a car all the way over to his new girlfriend, which he'd managed to get under private investigator Rebecca's nose in the good old US of A. Perhaps, Rebecca, your ex was pulling the wool over your eyes. And then Akinyi said, well, I understand why she might say that, but I think Benjamin needed to walk in and look like he knew what he was doing, and he didn't look like that. And all Sean could think of to say was, well, we'll put a pin in that. No, we won't, Sean. We won't put a pin in that. We'll ask the following question. But Akinyi, why didn't you explain to him exactly how the bride price is negotiated? Why, when you were brought into the room to help him negotiate, did you sit there mute and not explain to him that if he didn't manage to give the full price now, he would be paying for the rest of his life? Why did you get him to buy groceries for your family when groceries are something that you buy for them when there's a funeral and not a wedding? And why didn't you let Ben know at the conclusion of the bride price, if things went well, he would actually be married? Sean must have forgotten all those questions, but the Ebird didn't. And then we're back to Fidel. We see that Fidel went out with Benjamin and a few of his friends for drinks while he was in Nairobi. Fidel tells us all that he passed the test because he was checking to see if Benjamin could handle his alcohol. I think he was checking to see if Benjamin could afford to pay for all the drinks for him and all his friends. Akinyi didn't know that they went for drinks, and she was unhappy because she was kept in the dark. Akinyi, now you know how it feels. And they talk a little bit about the clothes, and Sean asked Jennifer, would you allow your boyfriend to tell you what you could and couldn't wear? And Jennifer said, I would never be restricted in what I could wear. I like to express myself. Nobody could tell me what to wear, ever. So as I thought, Jennifer's not a model. Models are always told what to wear. And we heard it here. Jennifer is never ever told. Back to Fidel and the bride price. And Fidel tells Sean, Benjamin owes me. Sean asks how much. Fidel says, something that he can manage. Well, we know what he can manage, 60 balls. So let's just leave it there. And Sean asks Benjamin, are you worried about how much you'll have to pay? He says, I am worried, and it's something that weighs very heavily on my mind. However, I'll sort it out next time I go to Kenya, because to me, Akinyi is priceless. Benjamin, saying that someone is priceless doesn't help your negotiation stance. Just a tip from the Ebird. And next we go to Tim and Jennifer, and we discuss the use of the P word, i.e. pussy. And Jennifer said it was an in-joke between her and Tim loved it when she said it, and Tim looked marginally uncomfortable, and you could tell it's something they got together and discussed before the tell-all. So then they talk about the most interesting thing that happened with Tim and Jennifer, the ring. And they talk at first about Tim's devotion to Veronica and how often he speaks to her, and Jennifer says she didn't know before they met that he did this. And Jennifer tells us that she was unhappy that the ring was re-gifted. Tim said Veronica was just trying to help him out. Yep, she was just trying to help you stay single. And every single other person on the whole of the panel said Veronica had to know, especially Rebecca. She was very vocal, saying Veronica had to know that it was going to upset the apple cart. Jennifer, for her part, said, I will only put the guilty in Tim, because she says that it's Tim's fault and Tim's fault alone. And she tells us she wants a much bigger, more expensive ring. And guys, all of this was nothing new because we've heard it all before. But then Tim tells us he still loves Jennifer, and Jennifer says she still loves Tim. And there's nothing new at all for this part of the tell-all. Next up, Zied and Rebecca. And they asked Rebecca, why did you wait so long to tell Zied you were married? What a ridiculous question. We know why. She wanted to make sure that Zied was all the way committed before she told him that news. And Sean asked Zied, if you knew Rebecca was married, would you still have invited her to Tunisia? And Zied says, no, I wouldn't. Again, we all know. And the only interesting part of the segment, telling Zied she had a same-sex relationship, and Rebecca tells us it was to check to see if he was homophobic or not. Zied confirms that he was very angry and that this is not normal and that his parents can never ever know. My parents know this never. This is no good in country Arabic. This for me and you only. And it's confirmed that Zied said this relationship makes me angry. So basically it seems like potentially he is homophobic. So where does that leave you, Rebecca? Sean, where does that leave her? Oh right, you don't know. But then conversely, Rebecca said, if his family were to find out about me and this other woman, he would have to choose between me and his family. And Sean said, well, you know they're going to find out. And Rebecca said, well, they may find out, but I don't know that. They don't speak English and they don't watch this show. I'm pretty sure that something will be on some website somewhere and it will get back to them. Rebecca, again, you're living in cloud cuckoo land. And it seems to me from everything that Zied says, I wouldn't put it past him to be homophobic. It just kind of seems that way. And then Rebecca's co-worker comes on, the person that she works for as a PI, and she said that she's worried about Zied. She's hoping that it works, but she's worried, and that she has questions about his work history. Zied tells us, wherever there's work, I'll always do it. I'm not lazy. I will work doing whatever. And Rebecca said she's going to get him work as a busboy when he gets to the US of A. And then she said he can go to school and he can do whatever he wants. And Rebecca finishes off by saying, there's no one in my life that believes that this will work, but I'm just hoping. But all of this is background noise because I, like you guys, am gearing up for Caesar and Maria. So we start out with the VT of Maria, and it's rather too long because it's everything that we saw from the previous evening. We can remember, you know, TLC. And so after we've seen Maria with her friends laughing about all the guys that they're going out with and so on, Caesar asks Maria, are you seeing someone else? And Maria tells him apparently the guy from Dubai was just a joke and she isn't seeing anybody else, she's single. And Sean asks, where do you stand with Caesar? Maria says, I want him to move on. She says they were in a 2-year relationship, and we remember that Caesar says they were in a 5-year relationship, so that doesn't seem to marry. And then Caesar explains they were seeing each other and then it stopped and then they started again, and it's all quite boring. We're hearing yet again everything that we've heard before. Caesar tells us that Maria is his true love and he still wants to go out with her, but Maria is saying in no uncertain terms that she no longer wants this relationship. Sean asks Maria, why haven't you seen each other? And she says firstly she had a visa problem, and then it was her mother's birthday, and then the weather was too cold in the Ukraine for Caesar to come over. And her excuses to everybody else are exactly the same as the excuses that she gave to Caesar, both uninspiring and lackluster. So guys, rather than go over what happened in this so-called tell-all, I want to say what I think happened. I do actually think this relationship was potentially real at one point in history. I know Caesar was on Star Now and he was trying to be an actor or a model or whatever, but lots of people that end up on reality TV have tried to get onto TV or into film in some other way previously anyway. They obviously want the limelight. But I think that Caesar did get caught up in this whole Anastasia date scenario, and I think he probably has paid a lot of money to try and see and date Maria. Anastasia date are scammers, and so what I think happened was this. When Caesar wanted to send flowers to Maria, the flowers were £400 to send, but there were probably $20 worth of flowers. And so how much did Maria see of that $400? Maybe not that much. Also, when you have an email exchange with somebody, it costs money, and I had a look into Anastasia date and I discovered that one guy was spending $30 or $40 per day emailing a girl in the Ukraine. And as we know, emails are free. So this company was scamming money off the top of these emails. And I think the girls are complicit in all of this, but they're taking very much of the lesser share, and Anastasia Date are taking the lion's share. And so when she was asked how much money Caesar had sent, she said it's nowhere near 40 grand, and I believe her. Because I believe she had no idea exactly how much everything was costing Caesar. She just knew how much she'd received, and it was nowhere near 40 grand. I then believe that he told his whole sorry story to TLC TLC, who concocted this whole idea to have this fake meet up with Maria, knowing she was never coming, but also knowing they'd be able to get hold of her for the so-called tell-all. And that's what I think happened with their relationship. And I think as soon as it came a reality that Caesar genuinely wanted to meet up with Maria, there was no way it was going to happen. She's never fancied him. She never considered him a realistic prospect. She just knew he was worth some money, and very likely not as much money as some other guys she was dating at the same time. All of the cast got very involved with this. Avery said she's always made an excuse not to see you. Rebecca said as soon as she knew she had to see you, she knew the jig was up and she was never going to turn up. Tom said I'd let her go. Even Michael said she wants to finish, just let her go. Tim said you got scammed, but Caesar said he's not hearing it. I think Caesar now knows that the whole thing is over, and this whole TLC interview is all just for the cameras. And the reason I say this is Caesar says I still want to try, I still want to bring her to America, even though she's said multiple times in this interview she doesn't want to be with him. He's heard her say her type is tall, blonde haired and blue eyed. That's obviously not Caesar, but he's ignoring that, and however stupid you are, you would pull her up on that. And then Caesar said the most ridiculous line of the whole thing: Maria, you'll always be my first love. Caesar, you're about 45. She's nowhere near your first love. So you can tell at this point he's acting. He's saying what he thinks are stock lines, and because he's not very bright, they're not very good stock lines. So Maria says, you've painted me as a bitch and everybody hates me. No, Maria, you painted yourself as a bitch. And she said to Caesar, find a girl in your own hometown. And the only thing that was missing from this whole sorry and boring segment was Jeremy. Where was Jeremy? So we wrap up the whole season with a few words from the cast. Rebecca says she has to finish her divorce and apply for the K1. Avery says that she speaks to Omar for a few hours every day. However, she realises she may never see him again. Tom and Darcey said they're spending the next couple of days together, and Darcey says she's hopeful for the future. Ben says he's applying for the K1 for Akinyi, and Akinyi manages to put in, you still need to pay the dowry, so we know where her interests lie. Michael says he's coming to America, and Tim also says he wants to bring Jennifer to the USA as well. And that wraps up the whole sorry segment. All I can really say is, next time we have a tell-all, we really want it to be a tell-all. We want to hear new things, like a Housewives reunion. Sean may well be a respected journalist and a great interviewer, but Sean needs to be a messy MF. That's what's needed for this type of show. Andy Cohen fits in perfectly with the Housewives because he's messy. He obviously watches the show, which I don't really think that Sean does, and he's invested in all of the characters. He asks the pertinent questions at the right time. TLC, get somebody messier. Any one of my subscribers could do a better job than Sean. And that's everything for this season. Thank you guys for all of those who have stuck with me through this, and I hope you've enjoyed my commentary, and I hope you stick with me for the new season of 90 Day Fiance. If you haven't already, please don't forget to press the subscribe button so you don't miss any videos, and I'll also be reviewing the Housewives of Atlanta as well. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.